Welcome to the logical storage structures. Okay. So far we described about data files which exist on a hard disk. Just like regular files, these are data files which are storing a data in Oracle's its own format. We cannot open read these files unless you know how Oracle is writing and reading, how it's writing these, converting the characters set to their own special um, binary format of the data. Okay. So if you are connected to the SQL Plus and you're, let's say, you want to create any data objects, there are only two types of data objects, like tables and indexes. Okay. So let's say you're creating a table X, Y, Z, or employee table. And when you want to store this data, you cannot say that I want to store in a particular file. That you will not be handling direct physical file relationship from here. Okay. But rather, the database administrators will be creating something called a table space. Okay, a table space will be created on one or multiple database files. It could be just on one data file, or based on requirement it could be on multiple database files. You will be specifying this table space in that create table data, and thus this logical unit of logical separation will be holding the data. And it could the data of employee table can go in only just one file, or could go in multiple files. And now if you look at further, how Oracle organizes its data is, on the data files, the smallest unit of block, smallest unit of information will be available in blocks. Okay, one small unit is called a block. That's what will be read as an IO unit from hard disk to buffers. Okay, and this block you could define 2K or 4K, or generally you will see something like 8K in the parameter file. And based on that, actually no, this will be defined as, when you create the database itself, you will be defining what the block size you want to create. And it's unless you want to drop and recreate the database, you cannot change the block size. So for table space, the smallest unit is a block, and when you add up multiple blocks, continuous blocks together, will be called as a track. Okay, and if these tracks together, if you have it for particular table or particular index, will be called it as segment. So your segments could be data segments, or a index segments, or a particular index segments, or sometimes it could be a large objects segments as well. Okay, so now this is the internal mechanism how table space is organized. Why would you need this? To calculate how much space you need for a particular table in terms of size, kilobyte size or megabyte, gigabyte sizes, and to define them in those terms, you will require table spaces. So from data files, physical storage structure, to table spaces, which are logical storage structures. Let's go a little more deep into different types of table spaces and how we use each one of them. The first classification of table spaces is based on how they are managed, local managed or dictionary managed. Dictionary managed is obsolete. It's kept only for backend compatibility, meaning if you are coming from an older version, if those are available on a dictionary files, dictionary managed table spaces, you could still migrate and convert it to the local managed table spaces. What is local managed table spaces? So the organization of extending of file management, all that will be given to operating system, rather than database doing the file management. So database will be asking for using the operating system APIs or calls to manage the files. So that's what we'll be discussing further in the local managed table spaces. And table spaces were further. Now the next level of classification comes on how we use these table spaces. So we have permanent table spaces where we will be permanent table spaces where we'll be storing the user or application real data. Okay, so these are the table spaces where we'll be creating as per your requirement and using them to store the data. And along with permanent table spaces, a system required to have at least one temporary temp table space. So temp table space will be used for large sort operations. Like let's say if you're doing a very big table, employee table with 1 million records for a large company, and you're doing a order by their first name or last name or their social security number or on a particular key, the 1 million records transact 1 million record order by is a large operation to do in the buffer, complete in the buffer. So for those actions, the temp table space, it will be using the temp table space, and as well as those are the reasons temp table space will be used. And you will have also undo table space. This, at least for one instance, one undo table space is must. This is required for in order the system to run. So undo table space is used, as name suggests, if you have any transaction or any action which you want to undo. Those information will be before changes commit, after change commit will be stored in undo, and this will that information will be utilized to do the undo action. Okay, so and these are the three important table spaces. Along with this, we also have something called big file table spaces, which can expand to 1 TB big file, which for a given table space. So one table space can occupy 1 TB of space. Okay, so um, the the table spaces, you can put it in a read plus write mode, read write mode, or you can open it only a read only mode as well. Okay, another characteristics of table spaces is, let's say, most often you would have it online for all the purposes, but if some blocks or particular file is corrupted, you want to recover that file or a block, you will time to time you might want to take it offline and repair it. So you can change its status from online to offline and offline to online. And another thing you can do is when you're doing a online backup, when the system is in archive log mode, you can put it in a begin backup and end backup mode. Begin backup, and that way the system is not changing any blocks, and you can take operating system level copy on a file and copy the entire file and then do the end backup. So that's another thing you could do on the table spaces. Okay, um, then we also have something called transportable table spaces. So we will be studying this in the utilities class. Transportable table space.